the next thing in our business is the Blue Ribbon Committee update. And I'm going to let you take this over since you have some wonderful things to talk about with it. You've been reviewing it, kind of going over it. So hopefully we can keep this to like a 15-20 minute discussion period.
Sure.
That would be gratefully helpful.
Well, thank you, Terry. I've been coming to council meetings. I've been a member since late last year, but coming since about April of last year, and safety keeps coming up. You know, it's been a heck of a year for MetroNorth. Between the Blue Ribbon Panel, the NTSB report, the FRA deep dive, I guess there was a TTCI report in there somewhere. So I'm curious about a couple things to start. One, how do these various reports and findings, and everybody wants you to do their list of things, have you found commonality in those reports, and how do you view, you know, which of those are your priorities, or how are you managing that process? And then you know, how in general, focusing on the Blue Ribbon Panel, how was that report taken at MetroNorth? Was it generally, did MetroNorth agree with the findings? Were there any parts that they disagreed with? And maybe that's a good way to start this.
To answer the first question with regards to the commonality amongst the reports, there was good consistency amongst all of the reports that were issued by all of the investigative groups that came to look at the activities at MetroNorth. The NTSB issued a very comprehensive report, which the last board committee was in November of 2014. Post that NTSB board meeting in Washington, MetroNorth did post on our internet site, mta.info, a couple of fairly comprehensive reports on our progress on the culmination of all of these activities. So I believe, and I don't have my iPad with me at the moment, I believe it's identified as 100-day plan update or comprehensive infrastructure report. MetroNorth has done a good job. If you go to our internet site, there are at least 3 distinct links on the home page that you can click on that give you multi-page PowerPoints and multi-page Word documents that demonstrate all of the activities we've undertaken. MetroNorth, since 2013, has actively pursued a couple of common threads of all of these reports. The thing that Mr. Giletti has spoken about regularly is the inordinate priority given to on-time performance. And that by driving an on-time performance goal, inadvertently that might have caused people to cut corners to make sure trains were on time. That particular activity is not bad if it happens once in a while because the system is stable. If it happens with some regularity over several years, you lose your safety margin on certain systems. Based on that, as you know, MetroNorth lowered its OTP goals in 2014. Those goals are very similar in 2015. And we've embarked on changing the culture at MetroNorth to reinforce safety as our core value. The most important thing to MetroNorth is to make sure our customers and our employees are safe. MetroNorth historically has gotten a lot of political pressure for achieving higher OTP goals.
Right.
It's very difficult, it takes a lot of fortitude to tell your boss or your oversight groups, no, we can't achieve those goals safely. We can only achieve 92 or 93%. Mr. Giletti and the senior executive team took that significant position back in early 2013. We have not wavered from that position, independent of political pressures that have fallen upon us over the last 2 years. And we have committed ourselves to making sure that each one of our employees understands that safety is our core value as well. We cannot run trains on time on a sustainable basis if we don't have a solid and stable infrastructure. So as been reported multiple times, MetroNorth's primary efforts over the last 2-month period has been to be doing significant evaluations of the state of good repair of our infrastructure. We did hire TTCI, Transportation Technology Center, out of Pueblo, Colorado, to do an extensive and comprehensive assessment of all MetroNorth tracks in our system. We've posted on the website a lot of the activities going to support improving the infrastructure. We've provided to the state of Connecticut a summary document of all of the work we performed in 2013 and 2014, which is very extensive. I believe on Tuesday, after the MTA committee meeting that MetroNorth had, there was also a press release that's also available publicly that gives an overview of the significant track work we've accomplished in 2013 and 2014. So it's basically what I'll call a back-to-basics approach, making sure that employees understand we want them to do their job safely, reliably, and efficiently, making sure we have appropriate supervision in place and oversight to make sure that happens. And over 2014, we've made great strides in improving this track infrastructure. Some of that work adversely impacted on-time performance. A good example is October and November of this year, where MetroNorth, for the right reasons, decided to expedite critical track work that needed to be done before the winter, before the ballast in the ground freezes out there. And that caused on-time performance to suffer on all 3 lines, Hudson, Harlem, and New Haven. We experienced a significant increase in customer complaints due to that work. We experienced pressure from the state of Connecticut to improve on-time performance. But we stayed the course to finish that work that needed to happen. Once that work wound down, which began around the Thanksgiving time frame and kind of culminated in mid-December, we saw performance improve on all 3 lines, and we also saw customer complaints decrease because, as Sue Doring has reported previously, they kind of follow each other. So the simple answer is we're doing what needs to be done to rebuild the infrastructure. We're doing what needs to be done to reinforce the human asset we have. We've reported a number of times over the last 2 years on a significant brain drain we've experienced through attrition due to retirements. We've accelerated hiring. We hire probably in excess of 600 employees per year. MetroNorth right now has around 6,500 employees. So it's 15 to 20% of our workforce annually. We've increased staffing of our corporate training function to be able to handle the minimum training that new employees need to be able to do their jobs safely and reliably. That's followed up by supervisory and management training, such that the supervisors and managers can effectively manage a safe and efficient work environment. We've revamped our safety and security department, such that Ann Kirsch now is the chief of safety at MetroNorth. She no longer handles security to give her a focus on safety. The MTA in December brought on a gentleman named David Meyer with extensive experience in the safety field. Also, he worked for the MTSB. He came on board in December. He's providing for Chairman Prendergast an agency overview function to make sure there's consistency between all MTA agencies with regards to establishing a safe work environment. I don't know if that's kind of answered.
No, that was very good. And I did note in the Blue Panel report that that was a very common theme, that they thought there should be a lot more outreach and best practice sharing among the 3 agencies with the MTSB with railroads across the country, and they said around the world. So how would you characterize MetroNorth's outreach efforts in gathering the best practices from all these sources?
From a best practice perspective, that's facilitated both by the TTCI initiative. They're basically world-renowned for their expertise in track infrastructure assessments. The Federal Railroad Administration also over the years and have increased their activities to facilitate partnering. The FRA actually, probably 3 or 4 years ago, started a partnership or partnering meeting program whereby all railroads within a region basically meet at minimum annually and sometimes semi-annually to discuss challenges they have on infrastructure maintenance and have that ideas exchange amongst properties dealing with similar issues in a geographic area. So I don't want to make it seem like this is rocket science, but there are basic engineering principles involved in maintaining and building infrastructure. Over the years, as people change and processes change, sometimes new technologies come on board that people aren't aware of. So things like ground penetrating radar, we've never used really on the property. We had a full system assessment in 2013. We brought on advanced track geometry equipment to do something called GRMS measurement, a gauge restraint measurement system, whereby the vehicle actually applies hydraulic force to the running rails to push on them, to see how securely they're attached to the ties. We have advanced machine vision surveys that use high-definition, high-speed cameras to take video photographs of the infrastructure that then goes through a data processing process to identify micro cracks and fissures in joint bars and things like that. So MetroNorth over the last 2 years has done, I believe, an extraordinary job of both understanding what technologies exist out in the field and bringing the appropriate resources to bear to do those assessments, which then went into the generation of our infrastructure improvement plan that Glenn Hayden, our new Vice President of Engineering, is currently formulating and is working on. And that's actually what's contributed to the progress we've made to date.
Have you bought now a track geometry car or cars?
The way we do track geometry is we do it quarterly, once every 3 months. We currently do it under a contract. A contractor comes in and does it for us. The FRA also has their own track geometry vehicles that they survey across the country. They come here with a regularity. They're going to be here again in March. We are procuring our own specialized track geometry car that we announced last fall. We've developed a specification for it. Now it needs to go out through the procurement process. We've also previously announced we're procuring what's called an autonomous track geometry measuring system, where we're going to install advanced measuring devices on board passenger cars. So as the regular passenger trains traverse the tracks every day, they'll automatically do data gathering real time, be able to identify track exceptions that need to be corrected immediately, but more importantly, build on the work that TTCI has done, that once we have an infrastructure assessment, as you know, things change day to day. The challenge is how to keep that assessment accurate to further, refine your priorities and your plans.
Sure.
We've also hired probably 40 or so more people within our track department, are establishing a engineering group to manage all of these new technologies. And the journey we've started is a good journey. It's a long journey. It doesn't happen overnight. We estimate that this first phase will probably take approximately 5 years to kind of get us to a state of good repair. After that, the challenge is how to continually invest in the infrastructure to maintain that infrastructure and more importantly, as Mr. Redeker and others have talked about, balancing two needs that are not necessarily in line with each other. Ridership on the New Haven line has grown regularly over the years. MetroNorth has added significant amounts of service over the years. We're reaching our infrastructure constraints. At the same time, we need to take away infrastructure to be doing infrastructure maintenance and rebuilding. A very positive initiative that the state has undertaken with regards to the replacement of Walk Bridge is going to have a significant impact on the ridership with regards to on-time performance. So, it requires the group, the Commuter Council, Connecticut, and MetroNorth, to clearly understand what our needs are, develop a uniform strategic plan, and then understand that you can't achieve goals that are diametrically opposed, but there needs to be collaboration so that everyone understands what's happening, what the goal is, and a general plan for the road to get there. And I think that'll address a lot of the consternation that exists both here and, in our riding public. People just want to know.
Okay, well, thank you.
John?